So to start off, what I'd like to do is to share with you some of the key findings from this year's PricewaterhouseCoopers Global Entertainment and Media Outlook. So let's start off by looking at the TV advertising market. Overall, in fact, we see TV's share of total advertising actually on the increase. Now, it's important to realize that included with these numbers, within these numbers, are actually some digital advertising revenues as well. We're obviously seeing the TV industry begin to embrace social media, embrace new media, and as a consequence, beginning to pick up some ad dollars. So we can see TV over the next 5 years actually holding its own and growing. Now, let's look at the major markets. Where is that growth coming from? Well, put very simply, obviously the developing markets are a great part of that puzzle. And we see Russia driving that growth and achieving something around about 15% growth compound annually in total advertising. China at the same sort of level. What that means is that by 2015, China will basically overtake Japan as the world's second largest TV market in terms of advertising, and Russia will become the 5th largest. On the consumer spending side, again, we see actually, and this is largely relating to pay television, we still see growth in that segment. But what do we see as some of the key challenges for the industry? Well, at the end of the day, it's about how do we really continue to be relevant to the consumer, and how do we get that true level of engagement with a consumer who, let's face it, is everywhere. The consumer has never had it so good. They can find almost whatever they want, wherever they want it, and increasingly it's free. The consumer is beginning at a time when they're saying actually they want more stuff free. They're also beginning to give us some hint as to what they actually might pay for. And some of the things that we're seeing is really it's content plus something. They will actually pay for quality, right? They don't want to download something and give themselves a virus on their laptop, right? So they will pay for quality. They will pay for the convenience, and that could be the convenience of mobility, and we're beginning to obviously see that with the explosion of smart devices. And they're also talking to us, obviously, about the overall experience. Give me an added value experience, whether that's 3D, HD, that helps to differentiate the product. But they're also telling us that they're willing to participate and to pay for participation in content. And the final thing that they're telling us is that they will pay for the privilege of seeing things, and seeing things when their friends tell them. So in a world where we are all connected, and if I see something, say, in the US, and I'm talking to someone on my social network about it, in Russia, people in Russia want to watch it. If it's not made available there, guess what? They tend to pirate it. That's just the way life is. But clearly, if it is made available, people are prepared to pay for privilege. So what about the advertiser? Well, the advertiser, if you, again, think about what's happening to the consumer. The consumer is giving a lot more information about themselves. They are basically, where are they? They're in social networks. And that means that for an advertiser, they're going to have to get a lot more involved. So what does this involved advertiser actually look for? The advertiser is increasingly, I would say, getting down and dirty, right? They want to get in amongst the consumer. And where is the consumer? The consumer is in social media, and that therefore it is all about how to engage with these digital natives in their environment. Increasingly, it is going to be how do you monetize the more personal engagement, and that is a completely different skill, but arguably if you get it right, the value can be very high. Advertisers continue, though, to want to be associated with great, compelling content, whether that's sport, reality, actually increasingly branded content. Finally, again, we've talked about integrated advertising for years, but it means something different now. What it really means is cross-platform advertising. So if you think of, for example, you open up you walk past a billboard, or you're in a store, and there's that little 2D barcode, and you put your phone up, and it gives you information on your phone. This is much more about cross-platform advertising than it ever used to be. And you can begin to see that this advertiser is really getting into the consumer relationship. We believe one part of the solution to that is around something that we call the collaborative digital enterprise. And this is really our view of the media organization of the future, and we're already seeing it happen. It's around an organization that is very, very collaborative with other people, both internally and externally, in order to help them reach the consumer. Consumers are actually giving a lot more information about themselves than ever before. So what we see is this constant need to evolve how we as an industry react. And so all of this information that we're actually now receiving, we need to mine. So we believe, in addition to data mining, there are a couple of other real imperatives around future success. One is, well, if you're going to give me all this data, you must take care of it. And we've seen some obviously high-profile examples this year of where data has leaked, where it has been hacked, and therefore making sure that as media organizations, we can demonstrate to our customers that we'll keep your data safe. But there's another aspect of that, which is consumers will get rapidly very, very angry if we misuse their data in a different way. If we start bombarding them with all sorts of marketing messages, they say, hey, stop. You're now abusing the trust. You're abusing the relationship. I've given you this information. Give me the stuff I want. Don't give me everything. And I think that's another important aspect of data security. We're also going to have to change the way we actually do things, which is designing content from the get-go for a digital consumer in mind. And therefore making sure that the content that we produce today can be exploited in days to come in a digital format. And that is creative and technology working hand in hand. And the final thing that, and certainly something that you know, the CEOs of the major media companies are telling us, in fact, 77% of entertainment and media CEOs interviewed just prior to Davos this year told us that their #1 issue was around digital talent management, meaning this is a new breed of employee who, let's face it, isn't going to work for the one organization for 20 years. They're going to work for 5 organizations in 5 years. How do you deal with the needs? How do you find them? How do you find digital talent when most of it is being hived off into Silicon Valley by Google and others? So how do you actually find the talent? How do you retain it? And how do you remunerate it? And these, I think, are some of the key questions that certainly we encounter when we're dealing with major media companies. And we believe that the solution to many of those problems results in, or it really results in an enterprise that is much more collaborative. We believe that those are the organizations that will actually prosper as we go forward to 2015.